In this video we are going to look at another mental model or tool, and this one comes from the world of defense and military planning. Now, the center of gravity model is a key concept in military planning and the operational art. It helps commanders focus their efforts on the most critical aspects that will lead to mission success. And today we will cover what a center of gravity is, how to identify and analyze them, and how they are used in planning. And it's important to emphasize that although this does come from the world of military and defense, it is not limited to that sphere. You can use it just about anywhere, particularly in business. But really, it's unlimited. It's a framework for thinking rather than a specific tool. So the center of gravity is defined as the primary source of power that provides an actor its strength, freedom of action, or will to fight. It's always an entity, which means it could be a military force, a leader, a member of the ruling elite, or it could be public opinion, an alliance, etc. The center of gravity is not a capability or a condition, but it is the source of capabilities and conditions. And center of gravities, or cogs, can exist at multiple levels, so strategic, operational, and tactical. Generally, strategic cogs can be both moral, for example, leadership, and physical, which might be an industrial base, for example. Lower level center of gravities tend to be more physical in nature, more asset based. To identify a center of gravity, we first look at the actor's strategic objectives and their desired end state. We determine what critical capabilities are needed to achieve those objectives. Then we identify the entity, which might be a force, a system, or an organization that possesses those critical capabilities. And then we validate that the identified entity meets the center of gravity criteria. Is it the primary source of power, etc.? This analysis can be done, and often is done, for both friendly and adversarial forces. And you might identify multiple potential center of gravities, in which case your job is to determine which one is the most critical. On the image there are 12 factors that have been generally agreed upon that are the sort of building blocks of a center of gravity. Critical capabilities are those primary abilities that make the center of gravity the central source of power. It's the things that they are able to do. Critical requirements are essential conditions, resources, and the means needed for the center of gravity to function. Critical vulnerabilities are deficiencies or weaknesses that can be exploited. And decisive points are geographical places or specific key events, critical factors, or functions where vulnerabilities can be attacked. It's by doing this analysis that it's revealed how you can protect friendly center of gravities and attack or neutralize enemy ones. Center of gravity analysis is a key input in the operations design process. It helps shape the development of objectives and decisive conditions that need to be achieved. It informs the selection of lines of operation. It guides allocation of resources and capabilities to protect or attack center of gravities. It identifies critical information requirements about those center of gravities. And it drives the development of branches and sequels to exploit opportunities or mitigate risks related to center of gravities. Those terms we won't touch on today, but if you're interested in digging deeper into the operational level planning procedures, I've got a link at the end of this video. And centre of gravity analysis is continuous throughout the planning and execution stages as the situation evolves. I appreciate that this probably seems a little bit too theoretical to be useful right now, so let's look at a case study, and we're going to look at piracy off the coast of Somalia. So Somalia was definitely a piracy hotspot between the 90s and the 2010s, and it reached mainstream news worldwide about the ferocity and the frequency that ships were being attacked and seized. Now, it was only after a concerted international effort, which the UN led, that we saw a significant decrease in the number of attacks off the Somali coast. So it went from 358 attacks in 5 years between 2010 and 2015 down to 8 attacks over the following 6 years. So let's have a look at how a centre of gravity analysis could be applied to piracy off the coast of Somalia. So this is what I came up with earlier. I saw the centre of gravity as pirate networks and their bases along the Somali coast. That is where the source of the power for these groups was located. Reason being, my thinking behind that is we look at the critical capabilities. What do the pirates need to do? They need the ability to launch attacks on ships from coastal bases. They don't have ships that can just stay at sea indefinitely. They need the ability to hold ships and crews for ransom. And they need the ability to profit from this piracy, not only for personal gain, but also to reinvest in equipment and operations. Now, to do this, they have several critical requirements. So they need safe havens and bases along the coast to base their ships and operate from. They need boats, weapons, and equipment for attacks. They need a financial network or networks to handle the ransom payments. And they also need local support, or at least complicity from the coastal communities, so they can be left in peace to operate their pirate operations. Critical vulnerabilities, where are they weak? Where can they be attacked? Well, the need for ransom payments means that those payments have to flow through systems somewhere, somehow. So you could see an attack, a vulnerability in that financial chain. There is a dependency on the local community, and you could erode that support, take that away from the pirates so they no longer have the ability to act as they wish along the coast. And they have the reliance on these coastal bases, and they can be targeted, dismantled, otherwise restricted or destroyed. So that's a theoretical view. That's the centre of gravity model. How does that relate to what actually happened? What we saw was, led by the UN, there was an increased number of naval patrols and security measures at sea. So they were targeting the pirates' ability to launch attacks into the sea. There were efforts to track and block financial flows from the ransom payments, which we just saw. Financial was a critical vulnerability. There were programs put into place to reduce the local support for piracy, taking away that required community support, or at least complicity. There were operations put in place to dismantle the pirate bases and the safe havens, which directly targeted the centre of gravity. And economic development and rebuilding of Somali institutions to address root cause. So this was a longer term, more horizon scanning view on how to take people away from the need to commit piracy in the first place. And as we saw from the stats earlier, all these things combined proved to be a successful anti-piracy operation, and now the hotspots for piracy are still in existence, but they're not around the coast of Somalia. So centre of gravity analysis, the cogs represent the sources of strength that are most critical for mission success. Proper identification and analysis of these centre of gravities allows commanders to focus limited resources on the most important factors. And this can shape the overall approach for how to achieve objectives in the most effective way. Need to remember that cog analysis is not a one-time event, and it needs to be done continuously as the situation evolves. And mastering this centre of gravity analysis is a key skill for operational planners and commanders. And it was those operational planners that I was taught by and I learned this skill from to begin with. And if you would like to take a deeper dive into the world of cog analysis and how it fits in with operational level planning, one of your best places to look is the AJP5, which is the Allied Joint Doctrine for the Planning of Operations. It's quite a hefty document, but there is an appendix in there all about cog analysis that I highly recommend as a useful teaching tool and also a reference guide. So I hope this has been useful and you have found this helpful. Definitely give it a go. It might not be as intuitive as some other mental models or tools that you've used before, SWOT analysis, for example, but you can find a lot of value in this, and particularly you can stretch yourself by applying it to some less military-based scenarios, even down to your local shop or other business type scenarios. So hope it's been useful. If you have any questions, contact me directly or leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next video.